Want to hear a wild UFO story? It will make you think about vacation planning. It was 1930, springtime, and a perfect day to take a drive in Blanca, Colorado. A nice young couple, a guy and a gal, decided to drive out to the nearby sand dunes to spend the day and have a picnic lunch. It was a popular destination and others had the same idea. When they reached their spot and saw a small crowd, they drove past to find a quieter location. They started on a small hike to look around. Their plans were about to change, for the worse. Minutes later, they were gone. The next day, their car was found, abandoned, their picnic lunch untouched, and no signs of their whereabouts. This was not an unusual story for a newspaper to print, as people do get lost while out hiking. It might have been noted as a very unusual story if someone had noticed a combination of stories from several newspapers in 3 states over the last few years. As it turned out, an FBI agent did notice. Meetings were held in Washington, and a special FBI task force was formed. They began collecting and studying stories and reports of missing persons at the sand dunes in Colorado and the Guadalupe and Christmas Mountain areas in Texas. These 3 locations were showing a high rate of missing person reports in the Southwest. Teams were formed, searches were made, and it was not long before they found the answer to the mystery. They not only found the answer to the missing persons, but the answer on if we were alone in the universe. On the north side of the sand dunes, they saw a UFO on the ground and alien crew members standing in front of it. It was as if they were waiting for them to arrive. Then eyes met, and time seemed to stand still. Send your leaders to meet us. The FBI team members were not sure if they heard it or thought it, but they got it and left. This was a very strange situation, but things remained calm. There were no military alerts, launching of aircraft or assembling of troops, or movement of trucks or tanks, as there was no need. They were not hiding or threatening destruction. They just wanted to meet. High-level secret meetings took place in the White House to review the situation and to create a plan to move forward with. Within 2 weeks, a mixed team selected from Congress, the White House, the military, and the FBI went back to meet with them. At that meeting, we found that we were able to communicate with them after a rough start. We would voice our questions and they would place the answers in our heads. We did not like it right off, but had no choice. We soon learned that we were not the first humans to meet with them, just the next. It was a fairly short meeting held out in the open, where both parties stood their ground opposite each other. We got our points across and agreed to a third meeting for terms, agreements, and a treaty. We were unaware if they had populated different areas of the planet, but we knew where they were in the U.S. Southwest, and with that, we wanted to gain some amount of cooperation, if we could. The third meeting was held soon after, sending a smaller team. It went as well as expected, considering we had no real control over the situation or our planned future with them. Here's what we learned of the big picture. They are not from here, and they come and go as they like. They have been visiting Earth for a while now, and their intent is to study our planet, which includes us and all creatures. They pretty much do as they please. They influence us as they like, and there is not much that we can do about it. They live underground in out-of-the-way places, so far. They have set up monitoring stations and equipment in mountain ranges to watch us. They would prefer that we not announce their presence, as that could create a panic. They wish not to go to war with us, as they would most likely destroy all life. In return for our cooperation, they will give us some of their advanced knowledge, as and when they see fit to do so. We gathered a team of U.S. historians and cartographers and took a look at the areas in question, where the visitors are set up underground. We were concerned about their telling us that they watch and influence us as they like. We came up with a map in the shape of a triangle that shows their bases, a strange lineup of military forts, a military institute, and several towns and cities. We ended up calling it the Southwest Triangle. We are still reviewing this situation, wondering who might have been influenced years ago to make this happen. We wonder if the type of influence involved is shared or handed down by family members. We are concerned today if persons living in these areas are under any visitor influence. We have set up our own monitoring stations and systems in these cities, so now the visitors watch us, watching us. Our government allows for very limited cooperation with other countries in this matter. It is enough to show a possible hint of concern, but nothing else really. Our agreement does not allow us to share any knowledge of the visitors with other countries. This has allowed us to deduce that other governments, having nothing to say on the subject, may already have their own agreement and treaty with the visitors. As far as their sharing advanced knowledge with us, they have thrown us crumbs, little to nothing of real use. They have certainly not given us any equipment for use, like to fly outside our solar system or to win a war faster or to cure cancer. They seem to want us to stay put and in line with all the other countries. They want us to focus on us, not them or out there. They want control of out there. We wait, but we do not sit idle. We learn, we build, and we use what we can to try to catch up. We found and figured out one of their communication and navigation systems. They use lights to transmit codes for both. Some in Marfa, Texas call them spook lights. It allows us to know when to expect a UFO flight from one underground base to another. In 1947, we found a way to down one of their older aircraft or UFOs, and they were not happy about that. We almost got in a fight over it. We blew a hole in the side of it over a ranch in the desert. Then it hit a hill or mountain near Roswell called Boy Scouts something or other. We had to work fast on that one, having to clean up the ranch and crash site. Had to do some cover-up work on the crash site as well. We worked with the local BLM office to halt aerial photos of the place for a while. We moved the craft to a safe location and we are still pulling it apart. We plan to build a new one, almost like it but better, with adult-sized seats. One of these days we will get it up for a test flight. Do you remember that we went to the moon? Do you ever wonder what happened to all the plans we had for lunar bases? The visitors said no, and that was that. We figure they have an underground base up there too and don't want any company. So now we send robots to Mars instead. We do not ask for permission when we send the robots. If the mission is a success, then we figure they didn't care. The next real test will be when we try to send humans to Mars. Did I mention the parks? In our agreement was the understanding that we have to help protect the locations of their underground bases. The visitors could not have multitudes of UFO believers walking up and knocking on their front door. We could not put up fences with posted guards. We had to be smart about this and think it through. We started with diversions. We had people reporting fake UFO sightings all over the US, any place but where their bases were. We tried fake UFO blimps with lights and other ideas to fly around at night. Then we decided to make the areas around the bases into parks. It was and still is the perfect concept. The visitors are here to study us, and they are picky about which humans they choose. This sort of thing will not happen to the majority of people. The percentage is real low for who is chosen and picked up. We have not figured it out yet as to what exactly they are looking for. So the park idea works for several reasons. It is protected by park rangers. Lots of people visit each year, giving them large selections to choose from. And there are bears. Yes, the bears have helped to do their part too. Unfortunately, the bears in this case catch the blame for the times persons go missing without a trace, if you know what I mean. So, with that said, I have only gone to the parks when the job requires it. Other than that, I avoid them. If I want to take my family somewhere fun, it's to the movies, where I can forget about reality for a while, and that's my story. Hey, don't worry about it. None of what I told you is real. It's just a story.